Endless opportunities stretched out before you. Whatever happens from now on, stand firm and face your destiny without fear of defeat. What awaits him down the path will then achieve and leave your own and search for this quest.
What did you make me for?
Have you been keeping space with your own thoughts?
What's up, Martins of Chaos, Skid Rose, Devin Valentine Gaming. I need to get used to that since everything's just under the umbrella of Devin Valentine. And I want to talk about something that is, serious, not really, serious, and it's been going around, and I'm very spiritual, okay? I'm very conscious about some of this stuff. When I was a streamer, I couldn't talk about this stuff. In fact, I'd lose followers based off of this stuff. But I want to talk about the male loneliness epidemic. My theory is it's done by these tech bros who own the social media companies. Because it's not just what they push on the algorithm, but the idealism put into this. And then we live in a day and age where kids actually have phones. What do you think a 10-year-old boy is going to see when they open their phone? And they see an OF model, a booty model. They're going to grow up in thinking that all women are like this. So then they're going to come and approach women in a way where it's very sexual in nature. They get rejected. They get mad. They go off the rocker because even when you're at a young age, emotional control, you don't have emotional control like you do if you're an adult. So then you go watch these red pill podcast bros. You donate money to their scam courses, believing that's going to make women like you. In fact, you end up getting arrested or even more trouble emulating these alpha male courses. So it's almost like it's not completely worth it to do any of that stuff, but that's the idealism that's in this. And the thing that's predatory about what's going on and exploiting all this stuff is there's a factor that, and I can't speak right now, there's a factor that's exploitative, such as get a mother young. And this has been happening all through life. Back, if you went to high school at the same time I did, back in, even just 2007 or even earlier or something like that, when you got the kids that smoke cigarettes, regardless of the fact that they put anti-cigarette ads. You know why they do that? Get them while they're young. You can live off of someone and scam them while they're young. You can actually take advantage of them while they're young. And then when you do that, book more money out of someone's, because the younger people, they don't have the life experience that grown-up people have. And because of that, it's easy to take advantage of someone else's mind because all they see is what's on their screen. Not many younger people go out like we did back in our day. It's just the truth and the facts. And then the influencers that they look up to usually have girls, let's be honest, are social media stars and only doing what they're programmed to do. And that's just to collect more numbers on a social media page by any means necessary. And like I said, this is not an all men or all women problem because I feel like the behavior is lower. I think the angry incels, that come out of red pill spaces because they believe that if they do that, they're going to have a better chance of women because they're programmed to do that because it's a predatory system, manipulating their emotions, manipulating lonely ass dudes who can't get none. Because, and then, like I said, when you're at, let's say, 15, 16 years old or 17, where emotional control is not something you're going to fully develop until you're 25, and even then, you don't fully develop emotional control until you're in your 30s. So manipulating someone who's young, who is very vulnerable to a persuasion ideology, it's like this with racism, for example. I believe that with racism, how that comes about is a grandparent who has racist beliefs tell their grandchildren this is how life should be and this is how you should treat people that are this and that. And then remember, kids are blank slates. They're very innocent. The reason why they say kids are innocent, kids are blank slates. They're a mirror of how their parents, what what shows and everything that they watch. They mimic everything that they hear and see. And when you do that, you put in your brain, this is how life is. And then you indoctrinate yourself in that ideology and continue the cycle. So it's what's put in the kids' heads and what's being programmed and propagated on social media and even sometimes real life in general that makes this stuff happen. And if we could just keep people divided by creating false situations and grift, using people who become grifters, people who fall from these ideologies, then we can keep this going, and we can make a paycheck, of a manipulated people who believe whatever we teach them, irregardless. It's not about morals. It's about living off the backs of other people, exploiting them. The difference with getting a job, yes, it's exploitative, as at least you learn some good skills from working in a part-time job. Unlike being trained into you learning how to scam other people by propagating the same, courses that you spent, that you probably took. Let's be honest, most of you took your mom's credit card to spend that $1K to get those red pill courses from these alpha male guru grifting types. Then you go and sell the same thing, hoping that you can get the same thing because that's what you're taught. That's what you believe everything that you're taught. That's just human nature. Human beings are pack creatures. We are like wolves in that thing, and in that same way. We're really never meant to be alone. But keep men and women divided and keep them hating each other for eternity. We can live off their backs. If we could push a narrative where guys think that all women are hoes, then we can get them taught by a grifter, that's how all women are, get them to believe in that mindset. If we could get women to blame all men for the men that she's choosing, but the reason why she's choosing those men, it's not really on her design. It's because the media promotes that, bad guys are sexy. It's the guys that mistreat you are the ones you want to be with. You're not taught any healthy coping skills or anything, or even going to therapy because they don't want you to do that. They don't want us to come together. These tech giants want us to give them more money by doing any means necessary, even if it's at the deficit and perverting what is actually natural in nature. We perverted it to get more cash flow. And for what? Even if we have enough cash to even retire our grandchildren, it's never enough. Why is that? Greed. Greed is the reason why the male loneliness epidemic continues. By selling the wrong idea to a 10-year-old boy and they grow up with that worldview, they'll pay handsomely to these red pill gurus that's going to make them do worse stuff. And they ain't just only get records from women, but also get them put in prison because they'll go out there, be extreme, have toxic masculinity, and then they'll go and probably fight a cop or something like that. So now they're taken advantage of by the prison system because of the stuff that they're taught. And for the women, they're only taught that men are bad because it's propagated. You choose a bad guy. Choose the bad guy who mistreats you. Choose the bad guy who mistreats you and beats you up and all this stuff. Because that's what's attractive. It's in our books and media. Then after that, the relationship gets to a point where it becomes dangerous to be around that person. And then once we finally break free, we put this other side of the grifters that put out there that all men are this, all men are trash, put that narrative out there, and then there you go. Division. Rather than going to therapy, learning healthy coping skills, learning that the world is not as black and white as you think it is, and learning that people aren't the same way you think they are. You know, we get involved into this ideological idealism. You take the one experience and multiply it as if that's how reality is, rather than go to different places, rather than hang out with different groups of people that have healthier idealism. We stay trapped in our bubbles on social media and our own group things, our own hug boxes, I should say. And then, bam, there you go. And that would also program for women to say that all men are trash. Copy paste all of that. So they think that one experience is everything. And it's the same thing with the men. If men decided to do something different, go to different places to meet women, that are around more positive people, then we wouldn't have such a problem. But, that requires going outside, touching grass, and, talking to real people. Find a place where you have in common with someone. Whether you're a nerd and you go to game stores, find people in common with that, and then go there if that's what your thing is. Or if you're a gym person or whatever person, go out more. If you could save some money for a concert or something like that, just go out and experience the world rather than be put inside of a box that you're being taken advantage of just to pay grifters more money, and then even more money to tech giants because how much they make off of algorithmic posts. It just takes just a healthy mindset to accept that maybe we all need therapy, and we need to just log offline and not give any attention to crazy idiots who put extreme propaganda out there to get us divided. And it doesn't help that we have certain kind of people in higher positions. I'll say that so I don't get myself in trouble, but that propagate it. But we can actually undo all the damages we have. It just takes us to go outside, to stop giving crazy people attention, stop giving grifters attention, and stop reposting algorithmic posts that really help those causes out. And that's it, man. Crystal bless y'all.